Hey, what's up guys, this is Control, and I'm going to be going over the Karazhan cards today. So right off the bat, we have a 1 mana 2/2 Druid Beast card. So Enchanted Raven seems alright. I like it because Blizzard isn't printing useless cards, and this is actually pushing Beast Druid to actually be viable, possibly, depending on the other cards that are released. So I think this card's pretty decent. 1 mana 2/2 is alright. It's kind of comparable to Living Roots, as that's 2 1/1s. But I mean, you don't have to choose one, and you also can't deal 2 damage, of course. But you do have the Beast tag here, so again, just pushing Beast Druid. So it's not bad, and I think I could see some play for sure. Next up is a Curator. So a lot of people will just think that this card's garbage right away, but I actually don't think it's that bad in heavy control decks. Especially, I'm thinking that it would be good in like a Reno deck, possibly. Simply because it's like a 7 mana 4/6 with Taunt, so, and then draw 2 cards. So I think it's very comparable to like Ancient of Lore, like the old Ancient of Lore. And I say draw 2 cards because you could have like a Kodo and like your Sarah or Alexstrasza in your Reno deck, and then you could draw those 2 cards guaranteed. And an interesting thing with the Murloc is it seems like it's pretty crappy, but you could actually get Corrupted here. So the 6 mana 2/3 deal 2 damage to all minions that aren't Murlocs. Pretty popular in Arena. Yeah, you could get that from it, so it seems interesting. And a 4/6 taunt really isn't that bad. And on turn 7 the taunt could matter a little bit. So I think that this card's actually decent, and it definitely could see some play. Okay, next is Ethereal Peddler. So this card's kind of interesting. It's a pit lord. So 5 mana 5/6, and then its battle card's kind of interesting. Reduce the cost of the cards in your hand from other classes by 2. So the first card that comes to mind for me for synergy with this is Undercity Huckster. So if rogues could somehow also fit in Burgle in their deck maybe, then I think this would be good. It really does depend on the other cards that they do push again in the expansion. Or release, I should say, instead of push. Yeah, it does depend on that. So if they release other cards that do give Rogue the ability to steal cards from other classes or gain them somehow, then this card will become really good, I think, because it does have good stats. But right now, it just seems okay. I think it'll be interesting, probably some trolling clips of this one. So it should be cool to see how it plays out. Next up is Firelands Portal. So 7 mana, deal 5 damage and summon a random 5-cost minion. So it's not bad right off the bat. Will you include it in your mage decks? Probably not, but if you do get Kabbalist and you get it off of it, you'll always be happy, I think. It's really not that bad. But it's just hard to say if it'll find a spot in an actual mage deck. Because I think 7 mana is a little bit too much for Temple Mage, but maybe you could throw it in as a 1-of. Yeah, I think that would work as a 1-of in Temple Mage. It's nice for the burn too, like if you need 5 more damage off the top. So this could push Temple Mage in a more aggressive direction, possibly. Instead of running, the 6 mana Faceless Summoner minion, you could just run 2 of these, and you would have the option of just going face with it. 5 more damage is always nice. And yeah, discovering this off of Ethereal Conjure is also good, but Kabbalist is where I'm really thinking that it's going to shine. Next up is Ivory Knight. So Ivory Knight seems pretty good. I mean, it might not be good enough, but it seems decent. This card, right off the bat, I like it a lot. It's 6 mana 4/4, so the body's not that great, but it's Discover, so that's awesome. Everybody likes Discover. So you discover a spell and restore health equal to your hero. Restore health to your hero equal to its cost, sorry. So if you discover like Lay on Hands, you heal 8 instantly, and then you can heal 8 more and draw 3 more cards next turn. So it's pretty cool. But an interesting thing is your opponent can almost always tell what you're going to be drawing into. It's like you heal 8, they're going to know Lay on Hands, right? Another interesting thing with this is you could pick like anything can happen just to heal 10 instantly if you need it. So that's kind of cool. And that'll make that card pop up in some non-Murloc Paladin list. Or maybe this card will just shine in a Murloc Paladin list and bring it back if you can get 3 or 4 if you run 2 of these. Anything can happen. But it's also nice because on turn 10 you can get like a Consecration and clear the board with it. It's just a very versatile card. And I think it's pretty unlikely that you do discover 3 secrets, but in that case it's kind of unfortunate. So yeah, I think this card will be playable. I don't know how good it'll be though, it's hard to say. Next up is Barnes. So I actually really like this card. So at worst it's a Yeti, or like the same stat line as a Yeti, so a 4 attack, 5 health creature. But it really does have potential to be good. Right off the bat, I'm just thinking like Rogue, you can get like Gadget Sand or Tomb Pillager out. It's pretty insane for the deck. I do think this is going to see a lot of play in Rogue. It could be good in mage decks, like a cheese mage deck where you just run Antonidas and Malagos as your only 2 minions. You get one of those out, and then you just go hard on like turn 5 or 6. So I think that could definitely be another way that it could be viable. But there's really just a lot of control decks that could be in, like any sort of a heavy druid deck. Like Astral Druid, it would be pretty good, and I think if you're going to be adding in a lot of good minions with effects. You get like Ragnaros off of this, it'd be pretty awesome. One thing I'm not sure of is if the 1/1 copy is silenceable. Because then you could play like Blood of the Ancient One and try and cheese that out, silence it with Priest on turn 4. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But I think there's just like a ridiculous amount of combos of this card, and again, this is going to be another trolled in one that we're going to see a lot of clips of. Which is pretty cool. Next up is Kindly Grandmother, Kindly Grandmother? Not too sure how to pronounce that. Yeah, this card just seems busted to me right off the bat. So a lot of Hunter decks right now are running cards like Argent Squire, Direwolf Alpha, and Abusive Sergeant. So you run that package with this card, and it gets even better. So, I mean, the 1/1 body at first is going to seem pretty bad to people, but I think it's actually really good this way. It might be a little bit better the 3/2 into the 1/1, but this way you can go ahead and abuse of the first half of it, and then trade up, and then get a 3/2 after, which is pretty strong. I mean, it's a 4/3 for 2, so it's very comparable to Haunted Creeper. But I almost think this is a little bit better. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe no, I think Haunted Creeper is still a little bit better. It's hard to say. I mean, you have to test it a lot. But I think with Abusive and Direwolf, this card is really, really good. Yeah, like you coin this out on turn 1, then turn 2 you follow up with one of those two, it's really good. Or even follow up on turn 3 with one of them. So I think this card could really push Hunter to be really good right now. And another thing about this is it kind of counters Fiery War Axe, because the front half no warrior is going to want to swing into it, right? So that's something really important to consider. Also, like Frostbolt, mages can't Frostbolt it. They have to ping it on turn 2, then Frostbolt it the following turn, so that's pretty bad. It's just stuff to consider about why the Death Rattle is really good here. Yeah, I do think this card's going to see a lot of play, guys. I think it's going to be phenomenal. And yeah, that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I believe. Yeah, so they revealed 7 cards so far out of 45. I will review the other 38. Yeah. So I will review the other 38. And yeah, the expansion is looking pretty promising so far. None of these cards look like they're garbage. Like, I'm really happy that none of the cards printed so far will see absolutely no play. I think the most questionable one is probably Ethereal Peddler and Firelands Portal, but even those are really good. Like, if they're actually going to see play in like competitive decks or not. Because, you know, you look at Enchanted Raven. I mean, Beast Druid's not competitive right now, but it could be after this expansion, so I think it'll see play in that deck for sure. The Curator is kind of questionable. I do think it will see some play, though. Yeah, Ethereal Peddler, with the current Rogue decks, there's not really room for it, but again, it does depend on the cards that are released. So I do think this card definitely could see some play. Firelands Portal, again, you know, just back to it. It's like another Fireball, kind of, and then summon a minion after, so it could be really good as well. Ivory Knight's also questionable. And, you know, all these things do depend on all the cards that get released as well, but I do think this card is, again, playable. Even in just current Nizoth Paladin list, it seems good. Barnes is busted, I think. It's going to be really good. And, yeah, the Grandmother is going to be busted. Haunted Grandmother. So, thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe to me if you haven't already. Like the video, check me out on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, etc., etc. And look forward to me reviewing the other 38 cards.